Good evening. Why did the king mention Islam and Judaism in his Easter message to Christians? Now, I wonder whether or not our dear king is getting some very bad advice. So here is the king's message today. On Maundy Thursday, Jesus knelt and washed the feet of many of those who would abandon him. His humble action was a token of his love that knew no bounds or boundaries and is central to Christian belief. The love he showed when he walked the earth reflected the Jewish ethic of caring for the stranger and those in need, a deep human instinct echoed in Islam and other religious traditions, and in the hearts of all who seek the good of others. Now, I must say I found that quite unusual, actually. Is it not possible for the head of the Church of England to deliver a message exclusively to Christians during the most important week in the Christian calendar? Now, I say that because I don't recall the king feeling the need to mention other religions when he opened up Windsor Castle for an Islamic iftar. I could be wrong, but I don't remember him mentioning Christianity whilst he was wishing Muslims a happy Ramadan.
The Quran says, God does not burden any soul with more than it can bear. We hope that you have a blessed and fulfilling Ramadan. Peace be upon you all. Ramadan Mubarak.
And when he wished them a happy Eid as well, or when he packaged dates for Muslim NHS nurses again during Ramadan.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't realize the king would be so fast. You are packing dates faster than I can see them.
Now, this is why I wonder whether the king is getting some bad advice from woke diversity, massively pro-multiculturalism obsessives behind the scenes. I don't think they handled the Ngozi Fulani situation well, remember her?
Sisters-based charity has suffered as a result, direct result. When you think that this was supposed to be for violence against women and girls, because of this incident, the violence has been directed to me. The palace hasn't intervened. I think they could have, all right? So what I've had to do, I've now temporarily stepped down as CEO of Sisters Based. I am announcing that now because the service users and the community can't access us.
So the palace apologised to Ngozi Fulani and even invited her to Buckingham Palace. So I don't think that was a particularly smart move. The king has expressed deep regret for things like slavery, which of course he and everyone alive in Britain today had nothing to do with.
The wrongdoings of the past are a cause of the greatest sorrow and the deepest regret. There were abhorrent and unjustifiable acts of violence committed against Kenyans as they waged, as you said at the United Nations, a painful struggle for independence and sovereignty.
So I feel like Christians in Britain, many of them anyway, feel as though they need a leader who will speak up for them, prioritise them and promote their faith. Former Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby, was a complete disaster. He seemed like a very arrogant man, utterly obsessed with climate change and channel migrants, who ultimately resigned after failing to properly deal with a known paedophile. Today, it was reported that more than 9,000 crimes have been reported at churches in the last 3 years. 9,000 crimes at churches in Britain in the last 3 years alone. Arson, vandalism, criminal damage, theft, you name it. Now, churches do not have the same protection as mosques and synagogues in Britain. Christians are being killed in unimaginable numbers in the Middle East and Africa. In fact, just the other day, 40 Christians were slaughtered by an Islamist gunman in Nigeria. Of course, that doesn't make the news because they're Christians. Now, I can't help but wonder whether King Charles, or rather his advisors anyway, are so obsessed with diversity and multiculturalism that they forget to look after what is, let's be honest, their main support base.
Using the internet without a VPN, a virtual private network, is a bit like taking to the road without car insurance. All it takes is one unlucky moment to cost you a lot of cash. This video's sponsor is Private Internet Access. They are the VPN to help keep you safe. Click the link in the description below to find out why over 30 million people have downloaded PIA to protect themselves online. A virtual private network is an app that hides your IP address and helps keep your data private. When you're browsing the internet at home, you give up a large amount of data to businesses, to shops, and indeed to social media giants too. Hackers have the ability to steal your personal data with ease, including sensitive information such as passwords, keystrokes, and even your personal photos. Private internet access helps protect your personal data by encrypting your internet connection to keep your data out of the hands of cyber criminals. And it's not just hackers either to be concerned about. Information can be censored too. When Canada passed their C-18 bill, social media giants decided to ban news content on their platforms. But PIA can protect your ability to consume the news and content you love. Private internet access is available for Windows users, Mac OS, Android, Linux, iOS, and you can use one PIA subscription to protect an unlimited amount of devices. And we've got a huge GB News discount for you too. Click the link in this video's description and you'll get a massive 83% off PIA. That's under £2 a month, the price of a coffee, and you'll get an extra 4 months completely free on top. Also, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee too. Visit piavpn.com/GB News to start protecting yourself digitally today.
Let's get thoughts of my panel. We've got political commentator Suzanne Evans, we've got Tory peer Lord Bailey and ex-Labour Party advisor Matthew Larser. Now, look, I am a monarchist. I'm not trying to unfairly have a massive pop at the king here. I'm very, very pro-king, don't get me wrong. And I think this maybe is bad advice he's getting. I just wonder if he's neglecting his base.
I disagree. I don't think he's getting bad advice. I think this is King Charles through and through.
Oh, right.
This is what he's always done. He's always been very much focused on interfaith work, and there's nothing wrong with that. I absolutely support that. I think it's a good thing to do. There's a heck of a lot of religious intolerance and indifference and religious wars fought, and I think the more that we can try and get religions to understand each other and bring people together, I think that's a good thing. In this particular case, I can't get too excited about it, to be honest, Patrick. This might surprise you, but I've lost count of how many times I've sat in church, because I'm a regular churchgoer, and I'm frequently reminded that Jesus was Jewish. And of course, what he did and how he acted was very much rooted within the Jewish tradition. And that's part of the Christian heritage. Half the Christian Bible is the Jewish Bible. So I've got no problem with that at all. Why he mentioned Islam, that is a little bit off the wall. I think that's rather strange. And I think you make a very good point that, of course, he didn't mention Christianity in his Ramadan message or other messages to faith. So I think you make a very good point there. But no, this isn't his advisors. This is him.
It just seems to me...
He wants to be defender of faiths. He made that very clear.
But who is defending Christianity? 9,000 acts of vandalism and theft and arson and all of that stuff at churches in the last 3 years. That's an epidemic, actually, isn't it?
It's not.
And, maybe Christianity in this country just need a defender of the faith.
I've got to say there's two things. If you speak to people from a Muslim background, they wouldn't have expected that to happen. They are very good at respecting other people's faith and other people's moment, Christmas, Easter, etc. What the king is showing is that Christians have no value as far as he's concerned. Christians can get the kicking. Christians are quiet and won't do anything. The Anglican Church is dying. But what people should remember from a political point of view is two things. The religions in this country absolutely get on fine. The problem is... Yes,
That's
they do.
Not true at all.
I'm sorry. The problem is between
not.
secular society, and the Muslim. You very rarely see Muslim people attacking Christian people and vice versa.
You see a lot of aggro between the Hindu community and the Muslim community.
May well be, but we're talking here now. We're talking right here now. Right, a lot of that is transported politics as well. What we're talking about is what he said, and what he needs to remember is people of the Christian faith who support him.
Yeah.
And when Christian faith loses its prominence in society, the royal family will be right behind it, and he should bear that in mind.
Yes.
And the important thing as well, Muslim people, Hindu people would expect a English king, to be a Christian and to defend Christianity. They are perplexed at his behaviour, unless there's the few who can see the political forward step for them. To me, it's bizarre that he behaves this way.
Matthew, this is where we are in modern Britain, isn't it? That you obviously have to trip over yourselves to wish, happy Nepali New Year, happy Bengali New Year, happy Sikh festival, happy everything else. But then the second that there's a Christian thing, you've got to also mention Judaism and Islam. I think specifically, as you said, Suzanne, as well, the kind of throwaway mention of Islam in this one was I would argue, much more strange than the fact that he mentioned Judaism, don't get me wrong. But you've got to. otherwise you're not diverse and inclusive enough. I mean, it's a bit weird, isn't it?
Well, I'm not sure about that, Patrick. Look, I think he was showing Christian respect to people of other faiths. There are millions and millions of his subjects, not just here, but of course across the Commonwealth as well. Absolutely, who are not Christians, and of course the vast majority of people who have come from a Christian background in this country do absolutely nothing about it and never set foot in a church.
But that message isn't for them.
So I think it's. Can I just finish? Absolutely true. Most people don't go to church, Sean. At the best estimate, it's about 2.5 million, including Catholics, other Christian denominations. It's less than 1 million people in the Church of England every Sunday.
There's
two things. Firstly, this is a Judeo-Christian country. Our legal system is based on those things.
Yeah, I'm not disputing that.
So that's important. Second thing, when people talk about the death of church in this country, they're talking about the Anglican Church. If you go to non-denominational church, if you come to London, Bristol, Bath, Lancaster, you will find churches bursting at the seams. The Anglican Church is dying because the Anglican Church is confused about Christianity. Other Christians are not.
We had figures just out this week, didn't we, about the growth of the Roman Catholic Church in Britain.
Mm-hmm.
And that's actually, a lot of that's because of the Polish immigration. Mm-hmm. Because when Poles came here in huge numbers in 2014 and onwards, they brought their Catholic faith with them and actually gave a massive boost to the Catholic Church. I'm very critical. I'm a member of the Church of England, but I'm very critical of it. Yeah. I think it has very much lost its way. Yeah. I think part of the reason Roman Catholicism is also doing so well is it hasn't fudged every issue of Christianity.
Well, I worry that King Charles has got a touch of the Welbys about him. That's what I worry about.
Of course he has.
Which is the kind of go. Now again, I'm not having a massive go at the King here. I'm genuinely meaning for a place to live, because as Sean said, I don't know if he maybe realises or is being told that if you steamroll over Christianity, you don't prioritise Christianity in Britain, then the monarchy's not far behind that.
Yes. The
monarchy's not far behind it. The monarchy said, should he not have just done an Easter message for Christian people?
I think he might have been better to do, if he wanted to do a nod to people of other faiths and no faiths, it might have been better to make that a general nod rather than singling out two faiths. Just let me finish, please, Sean. He didn't mention Hindus, for example, which is a large community, much larger community than the Jewish community. So if you're going down the size chart, he didn't. If you're a Hindu, you might be concerned about that. But I think it's perfectly reasonable. And again, what I was trying to say, Sean, before we got into discussion of which churches may or may not be thriving, the biggest growth group is people who don't have any faith. And of course he represents, because of the Commonwealth, he is still has millions and tens of millions of people across the world, hundreds of millions of people across the world who are not of the Christian faith.
The fact that you have to qualify it so hard shows that it's wrong. Let's be very clear. Sikhs, Muslims, they all have central celebrations across the year. Would they be more than delighted to have the King speak to them? That is his opportunity to speak to them.
They get a message.
Not to give a second grade nod to Christians by talking about something else. Let's be very clear. If you're
what actual offence does it cause, Sean?
Are you a Christian?
I'm not a practicing Christian.
I'm offended.
Well, I am.
Right.
Why? Tell me why. No, I know. I'm asking you why, Sean. Tell me why. Explain why, rather than just saying you're outraged.
I tell you why I'm offended.
Great.
You wouldn't dare do it to Muslim people or Sikh people or any other people. Why do Christians who built the country that he is king of just not get the same respect? If you spoke in a Muslim celebration in exactly the same way, I wouldn't pipe up, because it would suggest fair treatment. Muslim people are not at home sitting saying, well, he didn't mention us in an Easter message. They might say, well, when Ramadan's come out, we'd like a mentor.
Yeah,
very quickly.
I'm sorry, I'm a Christian. I'm not offended by
I am. I'm deeply
not at all.
offended.
So there you are. Two
range of
Christians.
views.
They always say you get 12 Christians in a room. None of them.
No, but that's it. But it's good. It's good to have seriously. It is good to have a range of views on that, because again, I do. I know you say it's just coming from the King.
I think it is.
Maybe it is.
He's always been like that.
I'm a little bit worried that perhaps there's a team of slightly out of touch advisors around him there, in which case maybe you should do something about that.